Splatoon 3 final review. Splatoon is a third-person shooter with a little bit of that Nintendo charm inside of it. When the first one came out in 2014, it came out to varying responses. Mostly my personal response being, what is this? Where is Pikmin 4? But as the future installments came out, I ended up playing all three. Typically, the improvements come down to better weapons, better maps,
better bitches, better money, my clothes better, my shoes better, I work harder,
and a much better online interface. Okay, not that much better. Okay, it's kind of the same.
Oh, we were right there, man!
That's more like a Nintendo problem in general. There are three main modes: Story Mode, Turf War, and Salmon Run. The fan favorite Turf War has not changed much since its predecessors. There's a few new weapons, which have a little bit of variety, but new weapons like the bow, personally, I found really only had uses in very specific moments that were key to either the Story Mode or the Salmon Run. Granted, you could just chalk that up to get good, but I did spend quite a few matches with it. Otherwise, there's a few newer versions of older weapons with varying range and damage. However, what I always find to be the most impressive is the customization. You can take any piece of clothing you have, hat, sunglasses, shirt, shoes, and apply any sort of customization to it. Because each item of clothing will have three little slots for you to put in things like ink resistance, stealth travel, sub-weapons being stronger, and I found that those actually helped quite a bit in certain matches. As for the new maps, the new ones are very fun, but unfortunately, with no Moray Towers, this gets a 0 out of 6. Nah, other than that, they're fine. Some of them do feel kind of samey, like there's a decent amount that are either a skate park, a normal park, or a mall. They're fun to traverse, but they're not exactly all that memorable. However, the biggest new update with Splatoon 3 is the tri-battles, where 3 teams go onto the map at once. This is a mechanic I was super interested in. Like, having 3 teams just seems super hectic, and if anything, maybe makes it a little bit more casual. This personally was a major selling point for me. They're only in Splatfest. Now, here's the thing. I would give you a full review of the tri-battles if I got more than one. Basically, Nintendo was having some server issues with it. Nintendo was having balancing issues with it. So for the very first Splatfest, there were very few people that could actually get into it, and the one time I did, communication error immediately. So I'm not gonna lie, that is very disappointing. Granted, it's only a small selling point, so it's not a big deal. I do hope that they change that though. This was definitely something that they should have figured out a hot minute ago, and is rather disappointing that they haven't figured it out for the first Splatfest, as that was something a lot of people looked forward to. The music in Turf War is a bop, aside again from the Splatfest thing. It just sounded like they were yelling at me. But yo, phase 3 of the final boss theme, I am bopping to that down the highway at 95 miles an hour. Next up is Salmon Run. Personally, this is my absolute favorite mode. My friends and I had so much fun doing this one. Essentially, you and 3 strangers or friends work for Grizzco, where you collect gold eggs, defeat a wide variety of bosses, and attempt to win each round within a time limit. The way they scale the difficulty, I really like. The more you win, the harder the battles will be. But if you lose a shit ton like I did, eventually the battles will be piss easy, so you can start feeling better about yourself. But if you're a god gamer like me, you will not lose. Next up, we have the story mode, and hoo boy. No spoilers, but this is easily the best story mode of any Splatoon game. Each level is designed with a completely different goal in mind, whether it's just running unto the end, paint an Easter Island head, or even like a sort of target practice. I ended up beating every single stage without any sort of burnout. And there are a lot of stages. Essentially, the levels act as like the ultimate tutorial for playing Salmon Run or Turf War, and they do a really good job of it. Weapons that I would have never tested in my entire playthrough. Now I was forced to play, but ended up really liking them and using them in Turf War. But not to mention, going back to the story, it is super witty and really funny. Basically, everything's hairy, and you have to figure out why it's all hairy. And if you touch the hairy goop, you don't really die. They just say that you grow a really big beard, which ends up being the death of you. But honestly, my favorite thing about the story is the archives. Inside the archives, there are entire documents about basically how it went from humans to squid people. I'm not going to give any extra details because you definitely need to check this out yourself, but it's really interesting. Like, not something I would have thought of. Story mode should take you anywhere from 8 to maybe 12 hours. It all depends on how many levels you do and how many of the little collectibles you want to find. I have always adored the style of these games. It's sort of like what if Squid People lived in the 90s, I think. But graphics overall, super nice. I gotta be honest, I can be a little bitch boy when it comes to Switch games. When I played Fire Emblem, the pop-in kind of annoyed me. I know. I'm that guy. But I can happily say I have had basically no performance issues, and the graphics are still beautiful to look at. What new models are there are fantastic. Granted, I did have issues with online performance, but that's literally just an internet thing. So I can happily say my eyes did not bleed once. Replay value. I think any Splatoon veteran can vouch for how many hours you could possibly put into a Splatoon game. And a lot of that is just the turf war. With new weapon updates and everything, it is so fun finding the arsenal that fits you perfectly. I really hope that Nintendo updates Splatfest to be a little bit better, and especially internet-wise for performances to be much better. But with the dedicated fan base, this is going to hang around for a long time. The replay value is almost infinite here. With the story being the absolute best that it has ever been, the turf war being more fun than ever before, the only negatives really come down to weapon variety and the performance being rather up and down. But without a doubt, this is an easy recommend. This is the Splatoon to jump into. It has been a long wait since the second one, a whole 5 years. Splatoon 3 gets a solid 5.5 out of 6. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm gonna hope that I earned that sub. If you like what you saw, I got more stuff coming. More gaming reviews and minute reviews coming your way.